Hello.
Hello.
We are live. This is our first ever live show.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Let's get into it. Let's just talk about the book.
Yeah.
We have read Graceling, and I think it's fair to say we both enjoyed it.
Definitely.
Jay's going to give you a non-spoiler synopsis of the book.
I'm indeed. So it follows the main character, Katsa, who is 18, and she has a grace, which in this universe is something that people are born with that gives them superhuman abilities. And her grace is killing. And I'm not sure how much is not spoilers, but will you stop me if I say spoilery things?
Yes.
She's the niece of the king, or one of the kings, and she does the king's dirty work for him. And she decides that maybe that's not what she wants to spend her life doing after all. And she gets up to some adventures. Would you say that's a fair description of what the book is? Bro?
I think so. So, I think we can just go straight into start ratings. I'm just setting up a poll. So, what did rate the book? I gave the book 5 stars. I really, really enjoyed it. And this is a reread for me. So I was really happy that it still got 5 stars because I was a little bit worried that it wouldn't live up to like how I remembered it. But yeah, I really, really, really enjoyed it. So yeah, 5 stars.
I also really enjoyed it. It was my first fantasy book. And I also really don't read that much fiction. So I think it was a really good introduction to fantasy. I think you chose really well. And I also gave it 5 stars. I haven't rated it on Goodreads yet. I was kind of umming and ahhing for a bit. But
yeah, well,
it's a 5-star book.
Jay finished it last night.
I did. You finished it last night as well?
I finished it in the afternoon. But okay. Yeah. All right. But Jay, I asked him and he said it was either a 4.5 and a 5, and he hadn't decided last night.
No.
He decided on a 5 now.
Decided on a 5 now, yeah. Because when I was like thinking about the questions, I was just thinking, there's not really anything that I disliked about the book. So, how could I not give it 5 stars, really?
Did everything it set out to do?
I suppose so, yeah.
Yeah.
It was definitely interesting.
Yeah. Great. So, shall we get into how we read it?
Yeah, sure.
So, I only read it physically. I just had the physical book and just read it like this. But Jay read it a few ways.
I did. So, I was mainly reading it on my Kindle. There was a chapter or two where I was reading it on my Kindle and listening to the audiobook. And then there was probably a good 7 or 8 chapters that I listened to just audio while I was making a lasagna, because it's a lot of work.
Yeah. But you liked the audio as well,
it was fine. I could definitely tell that it was dated. Like, I don't know when the audiobook came out, but it wasn't as good quality as what I'm used to with audiobooks, but it was fine. It did throw me off a little bit. So the story is from Katza's perspective. It's the entire story is her point of view, but the narrator was male, which you said that you couldn't deal with. For me, I struggled. It was fine.
I listened to like the tiniest snippet of the audio, and I'm quite picky with audiobooks, and it wasn't for me.
There was additional voices though, so like when she spoke out loud, or when she was like having an actual like formed thought in her head,
it was more of a female.
It was a female voice. So yeah, it was.
It's all right.
Yeah, it was good.
Bog standard.
What, for the audiobook?
Yeah, like
I suppose there's nothing wrong with it. Like, I managed to.
There's nothing wrong, but it didn't add anything.
Yeah, like when I was reading it on my Kindle, I was listening on like 1.5, but when I was just listening to it, I had it down to like 1.2. But yeah, it was fine. Yeah, I mean, it was a really good way to sort of be able to read it whilst
keep reading.
Well, yeah, exactly.
You're engaged enough and knew enough about the world that it wasn't difficult.
Absolutely.
Yeah, nice, lovely. Let's keep it non-spoilers for now.
Of course.
What did we like and dislike? Do you want to do like? Do you want to do dislike?
I don't really have much to say for dislike.
I don't really have much to. Okay, let's do likes first.
I'm just opening my notes. Go on, you go first.
I really like the characters. I thought they really made the story for me. Like, I think if the characters weren't so strong, it wouldn't have worked so well. But the characters really made it. And I also liked how strength and like not just physical strength, but also like mental strength was shown throughout the book and like shown as being like different things for different characters. And yeah, it just worked really, really well. I'd say those are definitely the things that are like majorly stuck out for me as likes.
That makes sense. The strength thing didn't like I didn't notice it necessarily, but
Okay.
when you mentioned it yesterday, I definitely thought, you know what, that does make a lot of sense. I think this is non-spoilery. So the narration was from Kat's point of view.
Yeah.
I really liked that, and I really liked some of the observations that she made. The way she described things, like, you know, obviously she was describing it to herself in her mind, but like the way it was described in the book, like it just resonated with me. And also there was points where she was quite oblivious, and that resonated with me as well, to be honest. So yeah, I really liked the sort of point of view. Something that I've just realised is, would we, if the audio is not working, would we know? Because we haven't listened to it on the.
I mean, there's comments.
There
So
are comments.
I assume it
Okay.
would be saying.
Brilliant.
So yeah.
Cool. Okay.
Hopefully the audio's been working up to this point. Yeah. So then dislikes, honestly nothing. The only thing that I disliked in this book were the characters we were meant to dislike. So it's not an actual dislike of the book. It was just like the things you were meant to dislike.
And I think the characters that we were meant to dislike were written really well.
Yeah.
So like I think it was
like they were written to push your buttons to like make you dislike them.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, like I think it was a little bit less complicated than I expected, to be honest.
I did try and tell you it was like a YA, and I thought it was a really good like fantasy for anyone to read. Like
I was having a lot of suspicions, and there was a lot of things where like, which is good, but it feels like it almost did feel a little bit more simplified than I expected, which is fine. I still really enjoyed it.
I mean, you're almost 30 years old. It's not really aimed at you and your brain.
Well, yeah, of course.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I thought it was a really solid like YA fantasy. I think it did what you expect of it, and obviously, for me, things were a bit predictable, but like not in a bad way. Like nothing, even the things that were predictable didn't feel like they shouldn't happen. So.
Sure, yeah.
Okay, cool. Who was your favourite character? I don't know your answer to this, so I'm intrigued.
Honestly, I don't have one. I really liked all the characters.
Okay.
But something that I did realise when I was thinking about it earlier is Raffin. Right, okay, yeah.
The cousin.
Yeah.
Yeah, Raffin.
He seemed extremely likeable. And because Katza wasn't particularly interested in his, like, it's not, I don't think it's just what to say, experiments. He's a bit of a science guy, right? Yeah. Katza wasn't particularly interested in that, so we didn't really see anything of it. I really wish we'd have seen more of him.
I definitely wrote, I don't think anywhere of what like I thought about for discussing today, but I wrote in the past of having like a book from Raffin's point of view would be very, very interesting.
It would. Yeah, it really would.
Yeah, like it was very different. Yeah, just listen to this. Yeah, it was a very different like point of view to have.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, it would have been interesting. My favourite character was Bitterblue. I won't say much more because it's a character we don't meet until like much later on in the book. But she was definitely my favourite character for some very interesting reasons. Like I thought she was a very interesting character to learn about. So yeah.
I agree with that for sure.
Okay. We are going into spoilers now. This is your verbal warning. There should hopefully be a visual warning on the screen. Yes, it has just popped up. So if you've not read the book and you don't want to be spoiled, stop watching now. We are going to be talking all things spoilery.
It currently says 5. We're going to see it drop down to like 2.
No, we have had a few comments. We will quickly look at those before we go into spoilers. How was your lasagna?
How was it? How do you think lasagna was?
It's the best lasagna ever. Like, yeah, you're a very good chef. Well done.
Thank you.
And then also going to be getting this book and giving it a go. Thank you both. No worries at all. We really enjoyed it, so hopefully you will too. Yeah. Okay, let's go into our spoiler discussion. Part 1 discussion. What did you like and dislike about part 1? I can go first if you need a second.
So this was fully my own fault.
Okay.
I read the first 20% weeks ago and then picked it back up on like Tuesday.
Yeah.
And at that point, I'd totally forgotten I remembered who Raffin was.
Yeah.
And I remembered who Ol and Gideon were, but I couldn't remember which one was which.
Okay.
So because for the first 20%, we didn't really see much of Ol without Gideon or Gideon without Ol. So I couldn't remember which one was which.
You remember now? Gideon
yeah,
was
yeah. Gideon was the younger one who has his own castle. Ol is the spy master. Yes, I did. Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Lovely.
But,
so, was there anything that you liked about it, or can you just not remember that? Or
I've got some more notes. If you give me a sec.
Yeah.
So you know how at the beginning when she first meets Poe, and she fought him and drugged him. I was worried that she was going to really have like caused loads of issues for him by drugged him.
I remember you saying that.
And obviously like we meet him again later, and it's fine. It's totally fine. So I was really worried that she was like this guy was going to turn out to be an ally, which obviously he did. But she's gonna have like completely like messed up everything that he was in the middle of.
Yeah.
I was really worried about that. But I suppose that's part of the book, isn't it? There's got to be some like peril.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then so when Poe asked Katza about Gideon loving her, I'm gonna sneeze. Have you got any tissues over here?
I do not. Okay, I unmuted us. Jay did not sneeze. It was a disappointment. Okay, so yeah.
I was in the middle of saying something.
Okay, go on then.
So when
he said it about Gideon,
and
Katza had no clue.
I also had no clue. I'm guessing there were things that were meant to have made me like suspect.
Yeah, there were definitely things that were a bit like, like.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I either had noticed it and it was in the first 20%, so I've totally forgotten about it, or I hadn't noticed it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's fair.
But I liked that because I literally wrote a note previous to that being like, I like how observant she is. Like, I like the things that she observes. And then it's like she's actually super oblivious to like this major thing that's happening. And it's like, yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Totally relatable. So yeah, I like that. I thought that was good. Yeah. I liked about Raph calling her out about being sort of oblivious. And I was starting to wonder if Poe could read minds.
Okay.
And then I think
were you
a little bit? Yeah.
Okay.
So I'd written somewhere previous. I'd written, "Can Poe read minds?"
Because she'd thought something and it's answered the thought.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was quite subtle, right?
It was. Yeah, it really was. But when I found that out, I wanted to like start from the beginning.
I know. Yeah. But you didn't have time.
I didn't have time. Right. What did you like and dislike? Well, that was just likes. But
yeah, I liked how we met all of our characters. Like, I thought it was. I mean, I don't think going against what you just said, but I thought it was very English to distinguish between them because of how we met them and how slowly that all was.
Okay.
But maybe not for everyone. I also liked how Katza and Poe met. I thought it was very fun, and it kind of like added a different kind of vibe to it.
Yeah.
Because it was just such an offhanded meeting of a fight, and then suddenly he's there again, and it was very like interesting.
Yeah, I like that too.
I liked Raffin again. I think it'd be really interesting to get a point of view from him at some point, a book of his own. And then my only dislikes for part one were Randa and Gideon, who I don't think we're meant to like. I mean, I feel like my dislike of Gideon was probably more than you were meant to, but yeah, I really just was not a fan of Gideon. Do you have any dislikes?
Yeah, so I think well, no, it's not a dislike about the book, but yeah, so I made a note when Gideon said to Katza, you'll want babies. I'm certain of it.
Just like,
I highlighted that and I wrote lol because I knew that you'd hate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I was making a lot of notes, but I don't think anything's particularly pertinent. But like looking back at these notes, I think it's clear that I was really like even at this point, even
You're
though I
in
hadn't
it.
fully realised, I was
You're in it.
properly invested. Yeah.
What did you expect to happen after part 1?
I made a little list.
So we did talk about this beforehand, and we said after part 1, after part 2, we'd like write down any predictions we had, so we could like talk about them and go through them. So, yeah, do you want to go first?
Yeah, so I'll go through my list. So, I'd written the Nice King has tricked everyone. There are other mental graces, other people in Poe's fam. Katsu will see the sea soon. We might still see what Olgidan and Rafa are up to. It's Raffin, isn't it? Not Rafa.
Yeah.
I kept writing Rafa. Because sometimes it's just short to Raff, isn't it? Katsu and Poe will be fighting somebody, and she will tell him what to do in her mind.
You're so excited when that actually happened.
Yeah, so that's what I predicted for part 1.
Yeah, I didn't make as many predictions. Obviously, I'd read this before many years ago, so I didn't remember it very well, but I feel like the setup, I knew where the book was going at this point.
Yeah, of course.
So I wrote Ditch Gideon, the little bitch.
Yeah, nice.
Going on an adventure with Poe, which was already pretty obvious from like the last chapter of part 1 that like that was the plan, that was what was going to happen.
Yeah, I don't think I'd even considered writing that. I think it, like, sorry, it was just so obvious to me.
And then more description of the world was mainly the thing that I really thought. Like, we'd only seen like a very small amount of the world, but what we had seen had been described quite well. And I was like, hopefully we're going to get a lot more description.
That's a really good point, that is.
This. So I think that's all for part 1. Let's go into part 2 and our part 2 discussion.
Does it start with what we thought happened in part 1?
We can do that first if you want. Did what we thought happened come through?
So,
I can go first.
Yeah, go on then.
Ditch Gideon came true. Adventure with Poe came true. More description of the world, like definitely got more. Like we definitely got some of that, but I still don't think it was as much as I expected. I think I expected there to be a lot more description. But obviously a lot of what we're seeing in part 2 was just like riding through forests. So there were descriptions when it seemed relevant, but I would still like more. I really get interested in the world, so I would still like more, even though there was some.
Yeah. Partway through reading part 1, I was looking on I'd forgotten the name of some characters, so I was looking on the Graceling wiki.
Yeah.
And I was on King Lek, and I saw his grace was believability, which obviously I'd spoiled myself. Like, I wasn't meant to know that. So that's why I predicted way earlier than I should have done that the Nice King was tricking everyone. And I was so worried that was going to be like the big twist at the end of the book. And
it happened
like
about 50%,
massive,
though, didn't
I wrote
it?
down it was 47% that we began, that Poe suspected, and therefore the audience should have been sort of like
following that train of thought as well.
I suppose confirmed, or maybe have predicted it a little bit sooner, but now be like, well, yeah, that's where it's going.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was really glad that I was not even halfway through the book when the major thing that I'd spoiled myself about was sort of like already
part of. You knew you weren't just waiting for that for the whole book.
Pretty much.
Yeah,
because I was super worried that it was going to be like the end of the book, and you find out and it's like, great, I've just spoiled the whole book. But yeah, no, I was glad about that.
Anything else?
So, Kata didn't see the sea in part 2.
Joe told me that didn't come true for him after he was reading it, and I really wanted to tell him to write it down again, but obviously couldn't.
But she did.
Yeah. Eventually. Your prediction was just a little bit too early.
Yeah, it was. Well, actually, the question was, what do you happen to what did you expect to happen after part 1?
Okay, yeah.
So technically.
Yeah, technically.
My prediction about seeing Olgidan and Raff are up to, that didn't come true at all. Like, it was, I thought it might have been like split perspective.
No, it was
might have a chapter from
really one point of view.
Kata and Poe will be fighting somebody, and she will tell him what to do in her mind. That did come true.
Yeah.
And I was pleased.
And you got like that little hint of it as well, like in one of the scenes where she was just like telling him to stop.
Yeah.
And I feel like you're like, oh, what's gonna happen? And then like many scenes later, like it actually happened. Be like, you go left, I'll go right.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. That was good. That was. Yeah.
Cool. That's all. I think that's all I really have to say about that.
Okay, lovely. What did you like and dislike about part 2?
I can't really remember, to be honest. You tell me what you liked and disliked, and I'll have a quick look through my notes.
Okay. I really liked the travelling. I thought it allowed us to get to know the characters that we were following at that point, so Katza and Poe, and then at some point during part 2, Bitter Blue as well. I thought it allowed us to get to know the characters even more, but in quite subtle ways, and also just through like random conversations and things. So I really like that. I really like meeting Bitter Blue. I feel like how that went down, like, was very cool and very interesting, and already showed a lot of character even from that point, because all we knew about Bitter Blue before meeting her was just like she's a 10-year-old child.
Yeah.
Like, with my reputation with books, that could have gone terrible for me. Like, that could have been like end of me reading the book, too annoying, like can't be asked. But I thought it was really good and a really strong introduction.
And she was a very did turn out she was an extremely strong character.
Yeah. The scene where they run into Lek and Katza realizes that she's affected by his power, like, that was really interesting in itself. But then when they're actually moving away and like the aftermath of that and how the confusion was shown and like how the confusion was depicted throughout the book, like it being like, no, this thing's true, wait, no, like it's not actually true, wait, but I knew that thing was true. Like how the confusion was shown, I thought was really, really cool. I really like that.
I think nowadays there's been a lot more sort of writing in like the genre of like trippy things that mess with your mind, so it possibly could be written even better now, but I think it was written really well. Like, it did make a lot of sense.
Yeah,
I really liked that we slowly found out more about Katza's grace. So the first thing I noticed about it was she ordered herself to sleep. I highlighted that and wrote interesting, because it's like,
that's got nothing to do with killing.
People can't do that. It's a superhuman trait, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, holy shit, there's something more to her than
Anything else? Anything that stands out, or ready to move on? Because I don't have any dislikes right down. Like, it was a little slow, but I think it worked for the story. Like, there really wasn't anything I disliked.
Is chapter 13 part 2 or part 3?
I believe it is the last chapter of part 2, but I will check. Yeah. Chapter 30 is the last chapter of part 2.
Okay, so I highlighted, this is talking about Bitter Blue. I highlighted she cried from the pain when Katza woke her up to the cold mornings. Oh no, there was actually more than that. She cried with relief when they were in the fire, and cried with pain when she woke up to the cold mornings. And I was like, that really made me click in my mind about how absolutely brutal going through those mountains were. So yeah, I think that was really good. Because
you're not a visual reader, so
yeah,
that's really cool that like something like that.
Yeah, just like, obviously I knew the mountains were horrible, but like the idea that she's crying with relief when they get to the fire is like, it really made it click in my mind. Which obviously they didn't need to add, but you know, really that did make it click.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, cool.
What did you expect to happen after part 2?
I thought they would go to Randa City.
Okay, interesting.
I don't know why. Like, it doesn't make very much sense.
The place she's not allowed to go because she walked out.
I wrote make it to Randa City.
Yeah.
Or Leonid.
Okay.
I wrote Leonid Place. I can't remember the name of the island, but the island is also called Leonid, isn't it? I wrote King Lek will have spread word that Poe and Katza killed the Queen and kidnapped Bitter Blue. Randa will believe it, but Olgidan and Raffin. I wrote it correctly that time. And Raffin will come around. The ring will play a big part, and there's going to be massive peril when they go back for Poe. I wrote Bitter Blue and Katza.
That's interesting. There'll be massive peril when they go back for Poe.
Yeah, I thought it. Well, yeah, that's what I thought. I thought Bitter Blue and Katza will definitely survive. Poe might die, but I hope not.
Bears, yeah. So let's go into part 3. Should we talk about whether those things happened first and then get into other? Oh, I didn't tell you, did I? Okay. Katza and Bitter Blue Adventure. Pretty obvious that's where it was going. Make it to Leonid. But I also have wrote, like, I vaguely remembered that they went there, and I was like, they must be having to head there. Like, they must make it there. Find Poe. Now, I didn't remember from the first time I read this, like, them finding Poe, anything like that. But I remember I've already clicked part 3 discussion, so hopefully it's all okay that I'm saying this. But I remembered the revelation of Poe being blind. So I knew at some point, like, they had to make it back to Poe for that revelation to happen. Kill Lek. But again, I couldn't remember this, so I was like, they have to kill that. Like, that's how this story has to end. But like, how's this going to happen? I really didn't know. So yeah, those were kind of like what I thought, and I feel like in one way or another they all came true, but they're all pretty broad.
Yeah, was it 3 years ago you read this? Was it?
It was early 2021, so yeah, 3 years.
Yeah, that makes sense. You've read a hell of a lot of books since then as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, fair enough. So my prediction about going to Random City was totally wrong. Obviously, because well, at the very end she did say that she was going to go there and tell the king that she's going to come and go as she pleases. So that's fair, I suppose.
Yeah.
But that's not. Yeah, But yeah, they did make it to Leonid. Is it pronounced Leonid? Did you say something different?
Leonid, I think.
Yeah. King Rilek would have spread word. Not really. Like
no, like murmurings were happening, but nothing more.
The ring did play a part. I was right about that. Big peril when they go back for Poe. That was kind of right. I expected something totally different. I don't know what I expected, but I didn't expect it to be so easy to get back to him. But I expected that.
Yeah,
once
like
they
you
did,
expected the fight to happen when they were back there, rather than the fight happening when they were on Leonid.
Yes, yeah, definitely. I also after they killed, I was very surprised at how fast Lek died.
Okay.
Like,
I mean, he had to.
Yeah, but I think I expected it to be the very end thing that happened in the book.
Whereas because these are like, although it's a series, each book is like a different point of view for at least the first 3 books in this. It does kind of like try its best to conclude it.
Yeah.
So it wasn't the very end, because there also needed to be like conclusions to the other things left open.
Of course.
Yeah.
I was right that Peter Bloom Cat survived, and I wrote Poe might die, and he didn't, but that wasn't a prediction. Like,
yeah,
that's it.
Yeah.
What do we like and dislike about part 3?
I loved how the Lek death went down. I thought it was so cool.
Yeah.
Like, because they just got there and everyone was so like in his like spell and so confused, and then like Katza was in that spell as well, but it was so interesting. Like, she did not know she had to kill Lek.
No.
She knew she had to protect a secret.
She
and
knew
ended up killing Lek.
She knew she had to shut him up. That's all. At that point in time, that's all she knew, isn't it? And she used a dagger to do it. So, like, yeah.
And also, then, like, one of the other things, how Bitter Blue stood up for Katza, like, in front of all of Poe's family.
Oh, yes, that was brilliant, when she was like, I'm the queen, and she's done nothing
wrong. Like, I just thought that
brilliant.
showed so much personality. And then, obviously, after all that, I thought it was really nice how it wasn't just Katza who, like, went back to find Poe, like, some of Poe's family went to find him as well. I thought that was, like, a nice thing. Because, like, we'd heard from his perspective that he was close to a couple of his brothers, but, like, obviously we didn't see that because it wasn't a part of the story. So it was nice that, like, when she was going back, it was like.
Also, King Raw was way more likable than I expected.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say about that, I think. So.
Oh, and no dislikes, but no, you can go ahead.
So the pacing kind of surprised me. So, like I just said about it, it wasn't very far into, like, as soon as they got to Leonid, it was like literally a chapter or 2 until they killed.
I mean,
that surprised me.
Did you pick up on the fact that when they're on that ship, it had been like 5 weeks, 5 to 6 weeks travel on that ship?
Yeah. But again, that's just like the pace of the book, isn't it? It surprised me, but it wasn't bad. I remember when it was I was about 90% of the book, because obviously I read in the Kindle, it tells you percentage. I did actually feel like I don't want the book to end. Like, I was obviously it was like 11 o'clock last night, so I was knackered. Because I'd just been reading for so long, so I was ready for it to end, but I didn't. I wanted more of the story.
Yeah.
She did see the sea.
She did see the sea, and she liked the sea.
She did. Yeah.
I thought that was a very cute little.
Yeah. I agree.
Thing that you put in, like, she gets to see the sea.
I thought you meant from the book.
Oh no, like you thinking it. Yeah. Anything else?
No, I'm moving on to the next questions.
No, lovely. Okay, I feel like obviously we've pretty much finished the book in terms of talking about the different parts. I think the last thing is, like, were you happy / satisfied with how the book ended?
I was. I think it was wrapped up really well. All of the loose threads were tied up, but there was enough things happening towards the end that were like, they weren't bad things. They were just things that were happening that left it open for more to be said.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I thought it was nice. I thought it was a sweet ending for Bitter Blue. Like, obviously, like, we see her get coronated. It's not called that, is it? That's not the...
I don't...
We see her coronation. I don't know what the... Her...
yeah, I don't know.
We see her coronation. And I thought it was nice for Katza and Poe as well. I really, 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 really liked... and obviously, this came out in, like, what was it, 2008? So, like, I feel like this was so good. Katza still was going to go and do her own thing. Like, she did not have to compromise what she wanted or sacrifice herself for the relationship. And I thought just sticking to that, like, throughout the whole thing was, like, really, really great. And I was like, yes, well done.
When she was doing the lessons with Bitter Blue,
you highlighted, didn't you?
I wrote Lady Katza's Survival School for Girls. And I thought at the time, actually, that's going to be like one of the future books. But you said no. But then at the end of the book, it does say that that's what she's going to go.
Yeah, she's going to go
travel around the 7 kingdoms and teach girls to fight.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Amazing. 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 I've put together a few other random questions. They're pretty random, but I feel like they're just things that we haven't really touched upon.
I think they're good questions.
Okay, that's good. What surprised you about the book?
I was so surprised that Poe was blind.
You were surprised that Poe was blind?
It really,
I even tried to hint it to you as well.
Yeah, you were like, he
what,
fell on his face. And I was like, yeah, you got a concussion.
Like, I was like, yeah, do you think that's what's medically wrong with him? Like, something's going on. He's really dizzy, isn't he? And he was like, yeah, he's got a concussion. She's just explained it. I was like, okay, I'm not going to try to hint to you then.
Yeah, no, I really, really did not see that coming.
I thought it was really good, though, and a really good way of, like, showing how, like, he was still going to be himself, even though, like, he does now have like, this disability.
Yeah, because there was that extra like character growth that we didn't expect.
Yeah,
like he went from being dizzy all the time to like learning how to use his grace to make up for the fact that he's not got his sight anymore.
Yeah, and I thought it was really good because obviously, like, being blind is a type of disability.
Yeah,
and like we weren't given any like quotes or optimistic, wishy-washy stuff about that. But before they left him, he'd made a comment where it said, "There's no shame in crawling when one can't walk." And I was like, so we already know he has that mindset.
Yeah.
Like, we already know that he's like, you know, like, there's no shame in this. Like, you can adapt, you can still get where you want. And I thought it was really cool to then, like, after he's done the self-pity thing, to see him go back to that mindset.
Yeah,
like,
that's a really good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
So I wrote down, I was really surprised how little of a role Randa actually had in the book. Like, he's in all of the synopses, all of the descriptions, King Randa, who's like Katza's uncle. And he had such a big impact on Katza's life, so obviously it mentions, but him, like, physical presence in the book, there was so little of it, and I did find that quite surprising.
Yeah, that's a good point. I hadn't noticed it, but I see what you mean.
Yeah. Do you have any other surprises?
No.
No? Lovely. What was your favourite thing to happen? I have two.
I've left this question blank.
You left it blank? Okay, I'll tell you mine too. I really like the cave being beautiful at the end, in the way that, even though Poe couldn't see because of his grace and his sense of things, when Katza couldn't see the cave at the end, he was able to explain how beautiful it was. I thought that was like a really lovely way to end it. This is going against what you said earlier about Lex's death, but I really liked how quick Lex's death happened. It was so shocking, him being there. Like, when I finished chapter 34, I was like, I have to keep reading, like, I have to know. It was so shocking, him being there. And then within around 3 pages, dead. And I thought it was really, really good. I really liked it.
I liked it too. I was just very shocked by it.
Fairs. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So, favourite things happen. I didn't write anything down, but I've got a bunch of things in my Kindle that I could have a quick look through.
Yeah, if you want to.
There was just, I'll see if anything jumps out of me, because there was just.
You really liked it?
I did, yeah.
You're gonna become a fantasy person?
Maybe.
Yeah. Okay. I can move on to the next question. We can go back if you decide to.
I'll tell you what, because I've left that next question blank as well.
You've left the next one blank as well.
Did you like the bottom? Where did the book? Did you like the bottom where the book went? I did.
Yeah.
I mean,
did you like the plot and where the book went? Let's say the question out loud.
Yes, I did.
Yes, you did.
I have no further comments.
Okay. I liked it also. I'm a yes. It worked really well. It was quite slow, but still really worked. And I also thought it showed a really good look at the world. Like we didn't go deep diving into like anything like super political or anything like that. But when it was relevant, it was mentioned, and I feel like I was really paying attention this time to make sure that I was picking up on everything. And there was quite a lot of just like about this world, about these 7 kingdoms, and how they are in relation to each other. And I thought it was a really good way to like look at the world and get introduced to it, because obviously like it is this fantasy world.
I really liked the part of the character progression of Bitter Blue. So in chapter 33, Bitter Blue had trusted no man when they first met, and now the girl allowed this enormous sailor to pick her up and hold her like a father, and the girl's arm was around Patch's neck, and she and Patch laughed up at Katza together.
Yeah.
Like, I thought that was so nice. Yeah.
I thought it was a nice character development. Obviously, like there was a lot of growth in a very short amount of time for a very young person.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I liked the interaction that Katza and Sky had at the end.
Yes.
I
highlighted it, but obviously I can't find
Yeah.
it. So it was like her heart had.
So I'll tell you that quote, but also before it, you leaned a very outward in affection. She said, "I'm going to name my firstborn child after you." And then, yeah, without intending it, her guarded heart had made another friend.
I like that one. I highlighted that one. Yeah, I thought it was really, really cool. Okay. Where are we? What did you make of King Lech?
Very, very interesting. He had his grace was so amazing and interesting. It was a shame that he used it for such a horrible thing, because he could have used it for such good. Like, you could influence so much positive change in the world with that grace.
Yeah.
And he used it to be sadistic, essentially.
Yeah.
So, like, I thought that could have been explored more. But obviously there's a whole universe with more books. Like, maybe we will find out more about people with other graces. Like,
yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was very interesting.
Yeah, me too. What did I make of King Lech? I hated him so quickly, but I did find it clever how great he was mentioned a couple of times before it got suspicious.
Yeah.
Then it took almost like quite a while to like have like Poe and Katza, I can't think of the correct word, but like build a case like in their own minds about like the potential problems before it was then confirmed. And it wasn't confirmed until page 210 of 370 in like my edition. So like that's quite far into the book that it actually got like 100% confirmed when they actually met him and he actually used his grace. So yeah, I found his character very interesting, and I thought he was a good villain.
Yeah, I agree. That's a good point.
I'm interested to ask you this question. Did you like the romance aspect?
Yeah. Like, I definitely think I don't know if it really added much to the book, because like, she would have felt if they hadn't have become lovers, she would have felt the exact same way about wanting to get back to him, and like, you know, really, because they were really good friends, and like, I think it was really obvious very soon that they were going to be really good friends. So I don't think it really added very much.
But did you like it? Like, did you like the added aspect?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't love it. Like, I have no complaints about it.
No complaints.
Sorry, I just spat on you there.
Okay.
I apologise. Yeah, I have no complaints about it, but like, I don't know.
Okay. Well, all right. Yeah, I thought it worked really, really well. I feel like it was really good and a really good balance, because it was like you rooted for them whilst mainly caring about the plot, and not like really, you didn't need the story to be about them, but you rooted for them whilst wanting the story to continue with where it was going.
I feel the same way.
Okay, jolly good. Did you like the magic system / graced aspects of the world?
Very much so. I thought it was really well explained. Like, I really liked that everyone's human. Oh, bless him. With one additional thing, it was really easy to understand that some people have special abilities, and you can tell because their eyes are different. Like, yeah, I think it was explained really well. I think it was really interesting. It was definitely interesting that both of the like main characters who were graced I suppose Lek was the main character as well, but Poe and Katza were Graced, and at first we thought that Grace was one thing, then it turns out actually something else. I thought that was really interesting, but yeah, I did like the Graced aspect of the world, definitely.
Yeah, I also liked it. I would like it to be explored more, but I think how gentle it is and easy to understand it is what makes this a great fantasy book for anyone to read. Like, I feel like if it was explored too much more, it might get complicated and confusing. And if you're new to fantasy, it might be a thing that would like hinder you from wanting to continue. So I definitely think it could have been explored more. And obviously in future books, hopefully that is something that will be explored. But I think it was done really well, and I did really like it, and like how like gently introduced into the story it was. Okay, amazing. I don't think there's anything else specific I want to talk about. Is there anything that you've come up with that I haven't mentioned or haven't spoken about that you'd like to add?
Other than that last question that's there.
Yeah, that's the big question. The one question left.
I'm ready to answer that one question.
Okay, let's continue on then. So the big question: will you continue? So let me give you some information.
Okay. I've already just come up with my answer.
Okay, well, you can answer it now, and then I'll give you both pieces of information.
I don't think I will read anymore before I've caught up with Murderbot. I think I only have the mental space to be in the middle of like one fiction series at a time. But I would like to.
Okay, well, not to stress you out, but you're currently in the middle of Murderbot, The Wayward Children, and No Graceling.
Oh yeah, I forgot about Wayward Children.
Okay. So I thought what would be interesting to note, Book 2, Fire, takes place about 35 years before Graceling, following different characters in a different part of the world.
Yeah.
So obviously that's the next book, like that's the second book. But then a lot of people don't like prequels. Like prequels isn't something that everyone loves. So I thought it's also Book 3, Bitter Blue, takes place 8 years after Graceling and follows Bitter Blue, who's obviously like a character we know from this, but 8 years later she's going to be like 18, she's going to be an adult.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting, like, obviously you've already said yes, you'll continue, but like,
I'd like to.
Does knowing the two different books like change your mind? Like, does knowing Bitter Blue's Book 3 make you more likely to pick up Book 2?
It makes me more likely to pick up Book 3, but I don't think I'd want to.
You can't skip.
I know, exactly.
I mean, you probably... I wouldn't recommend skipping.
Of course.
I don't think... I wouldn't recommend it. I don't think so.
Yeah, no, I understand. But yeah, I'd definitely... If there was a future book that was following Katza again, or following Raph, then I'd definitely want to catch up to. Yeah, I did really like Bitter Blue, so I do think.
Yeah, so Bitter Blue's Book 3.
Mm-hmm.
And even though, so like we don't get, from what I can remember, I've only read books 2 and 3.
Okay.
No, and 4. I haven't read 5.
Yeah.
We don't see from Katza's perspective, from what I remember, but that doesn't mean we don't see her or know about her life.
Yeah, of course.
So, yeah, okay, I'll be continuing. Like, I wanted to have this book reread for me, because it's been so long since I picked up the series. I can't remember it well enough to continue and read Book 5, which is currently the final book out in the series.
Yes.
Which is why I was so up for reading this. And
yeah, makes sense.
Honestly, I still think this takes top spot for me in like one of my favourite YA fantasies. Especially considering the series as a whole. Like, yeah, definitely there. But yeah, I think we spoke about everything we wanted to speak about. We haven't had any more comments come through, so let's go back to here. That's it from us. I really hope you enjoyed the discussion. I will try and do timestamps down below, so if you are re-watching this at a later date, hopefully everything would have been timestamped. Obviously, this is the end of the video now, so it's a bit too late for that. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the book. I hope you enjoyed the discussion. Don't forget that our book for quarter 2 is going to be An Immense World. Both the Discord to be a part of the discussion as we're reading, and the announcement video for the entire 2024 year will be linked down below in the description. That's the one. And yeah, hopefully we will see you next time. Thank you for joining the live stream or rewatching back, and yeah, hopefully we'll see you next time. Anything to add?
No.
Bye.